Hello, I'm Mike Royer. This year, there are over 38,000 students here at the University of Alabama. Here in the South, around the country, and I guess around the world, everyone has heard of the university and knows something about it. But as the university grows, as it continues its mission, growth is important, and getting that message out of what the university is all about is vitally important as well. And that's the job of Linda Bonnin, the Vice President of Strategic Communications here at the University of Alabama. We hope you enjoy our conversation with her about the campaign of Where Legends Are Made. Welcome to our program today. Our special guest is Linda Bonnin. She is the Vice President of Strategic Communications here at the University of Alabama. Ms. Bonnin, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Do you call Memphis, Tennessee home?
I do. Well, actually, I call Tuscaloosa home now.
Yes,
I'm proud
you do.
to call Tuscaloosa home.
When someone says, what's your hometown, you would say
I
Memphis.
say I'm originally from Memphis, but I live in Tuscaloosa now.
And so no one had to tutor or school you on barbecue. You
No.
come from some of the best barbecue in the whole country.
Well, actually, I was surprised to find such great barbecue here. I
Yeah.
love the barbecue here.
Yeah. We're glad to have you at the university. You're kind of celebrating a 2-year anniversary, 2 years plus a little bit. University of Memphis, LSU, and then now to the University of Alabama. Let's start by talking about your career as far as experiences go with themes, with labeling, with projecting the kind of message that you want that's positive, that tells the truth about the institution you're at. And talk a little bit at first, if you would, about how important that message is. A university is what it is, but the story must be told.
The story does have to be told, and from a communication standpoint, it's very important to be clear and concise. If you want your message to be heard and remembered, a lot of times we spend a lot of time thinking about what we want to talk about instead of what we want to be remembered. And so as you're thinking in terms of communication, we have to think about what we want people to remember about us.
Do you think about priorities? Let's make sure we do this, and oh, we want to include this as well. Does it work that way in your brain? You're a creative person, and we'll get more into that in a little while. Does it work with this, or is it an overall big thing that you're trying to make impactful in your message?
Well, with something like a branding campaign, you start with the big idea, and what is the big idea, and then you begin to flesh it out from there. With some other communications, you might build it a little bit differently, where you start with the messages you want to convey and think about the best ways to do that. But with a branding campaign, you always start with the big idea. A lot of times people think your brand is your logo. It's that thing, that mark that you have, but it's not. It's actually your core values and what you hold to be true about yourself. And if you think about your personal brand, it's who you are and what you value, and then you convey that through the clothes that you wear, the way you fix your hair, and how you present yourself to the world. And so the same thing is true for us in terms of branding. There are 3 components of branding that are very important. One is transactional. The second one is societal, and the third one is emotional. So from the transactional, it's what we do. And for us, we educate and graduate students, so that's our transactional component. Societal hits on impact and what is the value and the impact that you bring into the world. And then emotional is the connection that people feel with you and the memories that they have, the fond memories of their favorite professors and their favorite places on campus and all of the lifelong friends that they've established there. So that emotional connection is very important as well. And a great brand really should hit on all 3 of those elements.
And those are things that you think a lot about, but we in the general public may not think about that, but we in some ways are aware of all 3 of those components, aren't we? We just sometimes, you in your job, need to find the things to remind us of what the important things are.
Exactly, yeah.
I would think it would be so challenging to be hired someplace where no one has ever heard of them. You're going to come to XYZ company, and we need you to get the word out that XYZ company is the best company in the world. Our problem is no one knows about us. That's tough. Is it not equally tough to come to the University of Alabama and be given the task of, we need you to market us, make sure people understand what we're all about, and you go, everybody knows who the University of Alabama is. Isn't that equally challenging?
It was a tall order for sure, and so I spent the first 2 or 3 months really just trying to understand what was the heart and soul of the university, because if a brand is anything, it has to be authentic. And so finding that authentic self is where I started, and I began listening and learning and researching and reading and doing all of those things, talking to a lot of people and listening to the verbiage that they used when they talked about the University of Alabama. We needed to have a very authentic brand. It needed to be bold. We are Alabama, so we had to have a bold campaign. It also needed to be aspirational for our students and their parents so that they could see themselves and where they fit into it. There was an element of pride for our alumni and our fans and our donors, and some of that chest thumping that you have to have. It also needed to be timeless and not trendy so that it could be out there over a fairly substantial amount of time. So you factor all of that in, and then it also needed to have what we call great storytelling legs, so that you had a lot of ways that you could go with the campaign, where we could talk about students and alumni and faculty and tell all of these stories on multiple platforms. So yes, that did feel like a very tall order.
You mentioned something that we notice as we watch our fans and our students and all of us who are associated with the University of Alabama have pride in our football, in our academics, and all the things that go with the university, and do a little chest thumping, I guess, and brag about our school and our team. At the same time, you don't want to come across as cocky or better than anyone else. You just want to say we're taking pride in what we accomplish by honest hard work every day. Is that kind of the idea?
Exactly, yeah, and there's an element of owning that. We wanted to produce a campaign that was at a very high quality level so that people began to associate us with quality and excellence and those types of things. So it was very important to produce the campaign at the right level to convey that. When
you came in November of 2015, you weren't given much time to get going. You started on day one developing, thinking about a theme going forward. And I was a little surprised to learn, though, that there had been slogans before and statements before, and everyone knew Alabama. There had never been a launch of a full-fledged campaign hooked on one particular theme. That surprised me to hear. Did that surprise you to hear when you first came here?
It definitely surprised me. There had been some little taglines, I guess is what you would call them in the past. Things like Touching Lives, Crimson Is, Dream a Little. And so those had been out there really just as taglines on different ads. But there had never been a comprehensive campaign. And when I learned that, I was a bit surprised about that too, because our brand is so large.
As we continue our conversation with Linda Bonnin, I think you're going to be a bit surprised on how she came up with Where Legends Are Made, something you've seen on TV, on billboards, on T-shirts, all around campus, at football games with signs. We'll talk to her about that theme, about that platform, how it's working, and what it means to the future of the University of Alabama. We'll continue our conversation with Linda Bonnin in just a moment. Welcome back to our conversation with Linda Bonnin. Linda is the Vice President of Strategic Communications here at the University of Alabama. She's been in that position for 2 years, and she hasn't been just fiddling around for 2 years. You've been a busy woman, and you have a large staff now. In fact, when you came in, you realized you needed support, both financially from the university, but also you need more people to accomplish what you wanted to. You have grown your department some, is that right?
I have. We had to add some marketing staff. We needed a dedicated social media team, so those were the first pieces that we added to the staff.
It's my opinion in any profession, you have to realize what you're good at and maybe what your weaknesses are. If you told me, Mike, you've got 3 months to come up with a slogan for the University of Alabama, I would go, I think I'm going to go back and anchor the news somewhere. Tell us about that process. You knew it had to be special. You already said it in our earlier segment. Whatever you came up with had to be bold, and it had to be able to be used on all platforms of communication. Tell our viewers the story of how you came up with this.
Yeah, so I spent the time kind of learning about the University of Alabama, and there was no pressure, right? I'm new, and I had to put a new campaign together. Yeah. So I had been thinking really hard about it, and then the moment that I kind of stopped thinking about it and began to relax about it was when it came to me, and suddenly it was very clear and it just felt right. And it was a Friday night about 11:30 at night. I was about to go to sleep, laid my head down on the pillow, and it just came to me, and I said, Where Legends Are Made. And I thought, why didn't I think of that a month ago? And the clock was ticking. We were sitting in March, and the commercials due the 1st of August, and that was the first piece we had to build, was a television commercial. Yeah. And so I had been thinking about it really hard, and then all of a sudden it just hit me. I'd been thinking about things like legacy, legendary, and all those words I was hearing from people that I talked to, and how do you make that into a slogan that has to be 3 to 5 words that can do so many things out of those 3 to 5 words. So yeah, it came to me, and all of a sudden it just felt very clear, and it felt like the right thing. It felt very authentic.
Did you go right to sleep after that, or did you get up and write it down, or what did you do?
I began Googling because I wanted to make sure nobody else was using it.
Yeah.
And I thought surely somebody somewhere is using this already. So I spent about the next hour just looking all over the internet trying to find, was it out there? I found a bowling tournament in California that had used it for the name of their tournament, but other than that, I wasn't seeing it anywhere. So then I emailed our legal counsel and asked them to please do a registration search immediately and see if we could own it.
Why is it that the slogans that just seem so perfect and so natural are the ones that others go, why didn't I think of that? Because like many great universities, we have a great history, and there are so many legends. We'll talk more about that in a moment. But the legend part of that statement just really fits our university when you think about our history, doesn't it?
It does, even from an academic standpoint. I mean, obviously we have our athletic legends, but we also have a lot of alumni that are legends. We put together a video that features about 60 of our alums, and when you watch that, you're just amazed that all of these alumni have come out of the University of Alabama and have such tremendous success.
Did you first go to your boss, the president of the university, and go, I think I've come up with an idea, here it is? How did you present it?
I did. Well, that was Friday night that I came up with it. So Monday morning, I'm standing in his office about 5 after 8. And said, I have something I want to share with you. And there's that moment of nervousness when you're about to kind of present your creative baby out there and hope someone likes it as much as you do. And so I told him I thought I had come up with the tagline for the commercial and the campaign. And I said, where legends are made. And there's that moment where you have that pause. It's maybe about 3 seconds, but it feels like about 30.
Yeah.
And he responded and said he thought it was perfect. So we were off and running.
He's right. It is perfect, and it's working on so many different platforms. Had he said, oh, I don't like that at all, you'd have said, oh, I was just kidding. That was.
I would have said, well, I'll go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, that wasn't the one I came up with. How are you using it? Part one of the question. Part two, what's been the reaction so far? It's been out there for a while now.
Yeah, we're using it in a number of ways. Obviously, the television commercial, which has been seen by about 200 million people to date. Be more here by next week. So we're using it in television. We've got billboards, print ads, digital ads, obviously all over social media. We've got merchandising. So we're telling stories through a lot of different platforms, and that's very important. So when we shoot a Legends print ad, we're also doing a video at the same time, and we're capturing story content so we can use that across multiple platforms. So that's been the really fun part.
You talked earlier about a deadline of getting that TV commercial. Our viewers will be familiar with where they see that. That had to get to the networks who carry football, who run spots for both universities during the broadcast, right?
Exactly, yes. Every university gets a spot during their sports broadcast, and those commercials have to be turned in early August, and then you have to stick with that commercial for the entirety of the year, so you can't change it by game or by month or by sport or anything. So the commercial is due at the network when it's due, and there's usually not a lot of grace time, so you have to get that in. Pressure
to come up with the slogan, the name. It's going to be seen by so many people. That 30-second spot, whether it's ESPN, CBS, ABC, or any network, would cost so much if you had to buy it. So it has to be exactly right, doesn't it? It has to be exactly what you want it to be. It does, and we wanted to elevate our commercial when we did Legends and put it at a level where most institutional commercials are not. If you look at a lot of the institutional commercials, they're very similar. In the way they're shot and the things that they talk about, and we wanted to do something a little bit differently. Creatively, I knew it was a risk, and people would either love it or they would hate it, and I might be looking for a job come September when it was launched, but it was a risk. It was something so radically different than anything we'd ever done before. I noticed something the first time I saw the spot, and we're going to look at it in a second. The lighting is unique. Most university spots are bright and sunny and everybody's happy, and we're the greatest academic school. We have great athletics, great leadership, all of those things, and all positive things and truthful for their universities. This looks a bit different. It has a legend look, if that ties to visual. I know that was intentional. It is. It's more of a cinematography look. We hired Miller Mobley, who's from Tuscaloosa, to shoot it for us. We used a production company out of Mobile. And Miller was our creative director. He's a fabulous still photographer who's known all over the world for his still photography. He was interested in working with his alma mater and doing something for them. We couldn't have afforded Miller either.
but he really wanted to work with his alma mater. And when I saw a piece of film work that he did, it was the tone and the lighting and the emotion that was coming through the lens that spoke to me, because that was exactly what I was looking for in our commercial, and I saw that.
Let's do this. Let's end this segment by looking at that commercial. We'll watch the commercial, take a break, and come back. I want to talk about future legends, because we're surrounded by them every day, possibly. Let's take a look at where legends are made, a TV spot that 200 million people have already seen. Take a look.
Listen. That's a sound reserved for a select few. Because life doesn't just give out Pulitzers or championships. Greatness takes work, grit, perseverance. And this is only the beginning. The University of Alabama, where legends are made.
Welcome back to our conversation with Linda Bonnin, the Vice President of Strategic Communications here at the University of Alabama. Our viewers saw the spot of where legends are made going into that last commercial break. It has narration, but it almost doesn't need narration if you're familiar with Alabama. You must be pleased not only with what the voice says, but what the images portray. It just drives home that message that we're creating legends and winners here at the university.
Absolutely. And when I wrote the script, I used few words intentionally because I wanted the video to drive the spot.
Yeah.
And so we have very few words in our commercial. I know when Gary Sinise voiced it, and I was on the phone listening while he did, the producer asked him, "Have you read the script?" And he said, "Well, I read it coming over in the car." He said, "But it's missing something." He said, "There are not very many words here. Is this it?" And I said, "Yes, Mr. Sinise, that is it." So, you know, that's intentional. We really want the spot to be driven by the emotion and by the video that they're seeing on the screen.
I saw the script, and on the very last line that he says, it says pause. Pause right there to let the video breathe and show a little bit. That's probably a little bit too much TV stuff for our viewers, but it's a great looking spot. How are the legends selected? I've looked through the list. I've watched the 4-minute video that our viewers can look at if they like, showing different legends, not just from athletics, but from academics and entertainment, all kinds of fields. How do you find them? How are they selected?
Yeah, it was a tremendous amount of research. While I was building the campaign, I went out to find out who are our legends. Most people are familiar with the athletic legends.
Sure.
So I went to athletics and sat down with them, and we developed that list. And the list that's online is really those who are in the College Football Hall of Fame, the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and then obviously we have gymnasts and basketball and other people on there as well. So they compiled that list. But in terms of the other legends, I did a lot of research online to come up with them. I also visited with the alumni office to see what they knew, and we put that list together.
Talk about diverse, from all walks of life, all colors of people, all areas of life in general. You can't name a profession that we don't have legends in very high places.
Right. And I was blown away. Obviously, I'd only been here about 3 or 4 months when I was building this, and I was completely blown away by the stature of our legends.
What's the reaction you get when you contact one of them and say, "We're doing this campaign, we need you for video, we need you for a still photo shoot"? What kind of reactions are you getting from them?
Nobody has said no.
That's good.
So that's great, yeah. We've shot ads with Celia Ward, the actress, golfer Jerry Pate, with Chris Emerson, who's head of Airbus, and Marilyn Houston, who's head of Lockheed Martin, just a number of them. Winston Groom, who wrote Forrest Gump, was our very first one. And when we shot the ad with Winston, he said something very important. He said there would be no Forrest Gump if there were no University of Alabama.
Ooh.
And that was so powerful that we used that in the ad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Obviously you had to. As soon as you heard it, you went, "Oh, that's got to be printed
Absolutely.
or recorded somewhere." You would want our viewers to know that if they have someone in mind that they don't see on the website and they think they ought to be considered, they can actually nominate someone for future campaigns.
Yes, we have a mechanism online, Submit a Legend, so people can go there, give us the name of the legend and why they think they qualify as a legend. The bar that we have set is that they are bringing national or international recognition to the University of Alabama. We do get submissions every month. I go through them once a month and research them again to find out who they are, what their connection is, and then if they qualify as a legend, we put them online.
And they can apply, submit those names online. They can look at the legends who have already been chosen online as well. I usually mess up websites, but ua.edu/legends.
That's it.
Will take you there to submit nominations or watch videos. A lot of things found there.
Right, exactly.
How long is what is the life of a campaign like this? You don't spend this much time and effort and sleepless nights and hard work and expense too, doing a campaign like this and then do it for a year or so. How long might it have legs, if you will?
Yeah, ideally you'd like for it to be out there at least 8 to 10 years. It takes a while to build that brand equity, and it gains affinity over time with all of your constituents, and so you'd like for it to have a lot of shelf life.
One of my favorite parts of my job is teaching in the classroom. It's the first year I've done it. But it struck me as I prepared to talk to you that I may be in a classroom with future legends. As we walk across the quad here at the University of Alabama, we may say hello, good morning to a future legend. That's got to be exciting down in here in your heart.
Yeah, to me that's the best part. We've got 38,000 potential legends walking around on the campus, and we don't know their story yet, but they're here and their story is developing, and so that's the exciting part, is to see what they're going to do next. And we have a lot of great alums who have discovered things, who have founded things. The founder of Habitat for Humanity is an alum, for instance. The person that started the Discovery Channel and the Golf Channel, they're our alums, and Wikipedia. And so we have a lot of outstanding legends already that we know about, but we have students that we graduate every year who are going to go out and make their own mark in the world and become our next legends, and that's the fun part.
President Bell, vice presidents like you have to be concerned about everything dealing with the university, including growth, attracting the best and brightest students in the country. We're at 38,000 now. If we want to continue to grow, we've got to do it in the right way with the right message. That's all part of the business aspect of this, correct?
It is, yeah. And we'd like for a 17, 18-year-old sitting out there to understand that they can come to the University of Alabama and they can be a legend too, because the campaign is really about the past, the present, and the future of the University of Alabama. And we've had so much success to date, but we know there's a lot more success to come.
And there can be legends in the future that may not be the star player or the head of CEO of a major company, but doing a great career, being kind to all people, representing the university well. In a way, that's a legend as well, isn't it?
Yes, and having an impact on the world. Our next commercial will speak more to the aspirational side of being a legend, so you can stay tuned for that.
We're not born with it. It's a commitment, a promise we make every day, to ourselves and to others. None of us achieves greatness alone. The University of Alabama, where legends are made.
In the minute we have left, look into your crystal ball, Linda, if you would. And what do you see, what do you hope to see going forward here at the university? And I mentioned off camera that when you and I are at the retirement home on the front porch, what would you hope to be able to look back and say about this campaign and the growth of the University of Alabama?
Yeah. Well, nationally, we're certainly known as a great football program, and all of us here know that we are so much more than that. And so we want to remind people that we are a lot more than that. We want to be known for our outstanding academic programs, our graduates that we produce, and the quality of our students that we bring in, the research that we're doing here on this campus, which is fabulous. So we want to elevate all of that to the same level at which we're known right now for athletics, and be known for all of those things.
Linda Bonnin, Vice President of Strategic Communications here at the University of Alabama. I've enjoyed visiting with you prior to the interview, and I've enjoyed this today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
And we appreciate you watching our program today, and we hope you'll join us again next time. I'm Mike Royer. Have a great day, and thanks again for watching.